Hey YouTube! So, quick demo of this shock horror. It's a guitar that's other people have reviewed. This is a Fender Stratocaster, Mexican one. As far as I'm aware, I've got this in for a pickup swap. My pal's given me, I can't remember what it was he said, the pickups he wanted to put in it. They're in a Seymour Duncan box, but I'm pretty sure he said they weren't Seymour Duncans. So this is a 2010, I think. Serial number starts MX10. 2010 Mexican, I think it's just, by this point it was just called the standard Strat perhaps. Yeah, so even though I'm always slagging off Fenders and stuff, it's really nice. Almost disappointingly so. No, it's really nice. You get the one piece maple neck on it. It's like might do a wee bit of a comparison with my Japanese one just here, but it's not really the same thing we're looking at, because that's kind of like a sort of 50s model. This would be like a modern one. So there are various things. Anyway, I'm sure you can probably get a Mexican one that is a bit more 50s-y. So this has the differences. Well, mine's got a rosewood fingerboard, which I would rather have the maple anyway. But so apart from that, this one has like sort of modern tuners, the big square type. They're really good. That one has like old-fashioned Clusony type things. It's got a truss rod going in the top. The Japanese one goes in the bottom. It's got big frets, which everyone likes. The Japanese one has the skinny frets, the original ones. The bridge looks pretty much the same as far as I can tell, and there's not really much else different. But it's just like, you know, these are. I can't really compare those elements of it. It's also a different neck profile. It's a much more I don't know what it's a much more of. It's not exactly the same neck profile. I'd imagine this is like a modern shape, and that's an old one or something. I don't know, but that's purely like a personal preference thing. I think you could probably argue against quite a lot of the original things, like having the truss rod in the top is probably a better idea, because it means you don't need to take the neck off to adjust it. Having sealed tuners rather than the sort of the oldie-fashioned ones, they're probably more reliable. Although I do like the old Clusons that they've got like a slot in the top where you stick the end of the string, so that you can't really poke your fingers, because in, you know, on normal tuners there's always a wee jaggy bit, so you could, like, it kind of rips up your guitar case, or it could scratch you, sort of thing. So I suppose that's kind of against it maybe. And there's not really, apart from how they look the same. But so I'm doing a wee video of this just now as a sort of preemptive, as a sort of before and after thing. I'll probably put it all in the one video though, just to see what these pickups actually sound like, which I assume, my pal will write down below if they're not original, but I assume this is just stock as it is just now. So there's your bridge pickup, just using the Laney VC15, that 3x12, there's nothing on. I should probably put reverb on if it's a Strat, shouldn't I? I'll put it on. I think I've got the reverb turned up full actually, yeah. I've got it at half. Don't like reverb. I keep trying it. I like the dry sound. I know it's... most people don't. You can add reverb later, you can't take it off. So I might do a wee bit of a sound test here, because my pals kindly said I can have these pickups as part of the deal when I'm replacing it. So the problem is, one of the set he's got, the neck pickups burst. I was looking at it and I opened the top off and you can see the actual winding coming off, and I thought, oh, I could probably put that back on again, but the winding's off the other end as well. So it's like, and there was only a wee tiny nub, about 1 millimetre, where you can see there's no way to connect to that. It's like, so that this neck pickup will be staying in the guitar. It'll be the other two that are getting replaced. I think he's got other pots as well. I seem to remember seeing him in a gig bag. I did offer him to put in, to do the, you know, normally in a Strat the two tone controls are, this is for the neck pickup and this one's for the middle pickup. I said I could put a wee jumper wire in so that this operates for the bridge as well, but actually it already does. But it's a strange value of pot. There's something funny going on there, because like when you turn it, you know, it's kind of doing what you expect, but then it's just a, there's nothing left when you turn it down to nothing, and it's the same in the middle pickup. You know, that it's kind of unusably soft, so I mean, as I said, it will be getting ripped out, but I don't really know why that's... Seems a strange thing to put in, unless maybe people want that, I suppose. What's the neck pickup like? I would kind of argue the neck pickup's the same, it kind of does too much. I suppose the argument you can have there is, well, don't turn it all the way down, you know. And I'm sure there's some technical reason for it. Yeah, so as I said, I'll be getting these two pickups, but they might be going in my Strat. Mine has, I do really like the neck pickup. It's sort of like a 70s Fender pickup in it. The middle pickup's a lace sensor, and the bridge pickup's a DiMarzio. So they're probably worth quite a lot of money. So I'm thinking if these sound the same, or maybe better, then I'll just put these in that guitar and sell them. Maybe make myself a couple £100. Easy. Depends what they sound like. See if I can be bothered. Here's a neck pickup. Sounds like a Strat. Middle. Two. I shouldn't really be just using the middle pickup because the neck pickup's staying in it. Bit of Sir Riot for distortion. Bridge. I think I'm getting a wee bit more I used to hate Strats. I think, to be honest, there's a certain element of everyone doesn't like Strats because they are dead thin sounding, but they are. I like the sort of the single coil and the bridge things, but I imagine it sounds even better with the plus pedal on. Yeah, it doesn't like that. So just before I do the second half, I'm just about to wire this up. I'm going to try what the bridge and the middle pickup sound like on my guitar to see whether I actually want to swap them over. I might do a wee bit of a... This is obviously much more battered than that one. This is a 94, I think, so it's an extra... It's got 15 years more of battering on it. So here's the bridge pickup. Yeah, see, that doesn't sound as good, does it? Middle pickup. that might have the edge. And I think that DiMarzio might have to be coming out of this, and I might be putting that in instead, if I can be bothered. It just goes to show that just because it says DiMarzio on it and it's probably an expensive pickup, doesn't necessarily mean it's what you want. Very, very thin sound, isn't it? Does it sound more like a Strat though? Okay. I mean, these aren't originals to this guitar. Can't really come up any higher. I think maybe what I've done here is I think this might be a neck pickup. You know, neck pickups aren't generally as powerful as bridge pickups because they've got a bigger sample size. So I think it might be, it's maybe just too weak a pickup. I don't know, maybe it's just a vintage thing. If I didn't have to take the scratch plate off and all the strings off and stuff, I would definitely swap them over and see if I liked it. But and I can't really do a. It's not a fair comparison between these two guitars, although I will do a wee bit later on probably. Like as a clickbait video, Fender Japan versus Fender Mexico. But as I said, this one's 15 years older. The frets. The frets have got a better. I had to do them, so the frets have been worn down, and I sorted them out. So they're lower and thinner and more rounded, but that's because it's 15 years older and I've been working on it. So that you can't really count that. It'd have to be one of the same age in a similar condition. But I do prefer the maple neck to the rosewood. And I suppose I could argue this one's a little bit more interesting, even though obviously we just get big chunks out of it. This has got the photo flame, where it looks like it's pure fancy wood, but it's actually a photo of, it's a Fuji film and Fuji Gen collaboration, where they made like, they put a photo of wood on it. The problem is once you get to this age, once you get to 20, 30 years old, the wood expands or contracts at a different rate than the photograph does, so it cracks and falls off. You see some of these in terrible condition. Though this is one of them. I basically painted the bits that had fallen off black and filled them with super glue. Just figuring it kind of just looks like there's a bit of duct tape stuck on it. So I'm going to swap over those pickups and see how they get on. But I don't know how much one of these costs. I should really look into doing a bit more. I mean, I think there's an awful lot. Is it the same as everyone else? Are there ones that are like, is a desirable year? Is like a 2010 a really good year? Or, you know, is this exactly the same as it is now? Or I don't really know. I know there's a lot of variance in Squires when you can get one from 1 year that's like a pure belter guitar, and then get one that just looks exactly the same from 2 years later that's a pure shocker. Just like as quality, not like as in a 1, you know, 1 in 10 will be pure amazing and 1 in 10 will be a bit rubbish. I mean, just like as an average, if you start off with sort of cheapy woods and stuff, you don't really end up with a good guitar. But I mean, it's quite nice because it's just the standard Strat. Very good. Right, I shall swap these pickups over and see if it sounds any different. I'll do a final wee run through. Why is there no sound coming out? Because this is one of those old-fashioned ones that see if you want to make the sound come through the amplifier, you've got to put the lead out of this guitar and plug it in. These old-fashioned things. I've got one of those old-fashioned cars as well that you need a key. Next, a wee bit chunkier in this. And you can actually feel the fret ends a little bit, but I'm super critical about these things. I'm not comparing this to a modern guitar, I'm comparing this to, not only are all these Japanese guitars well, I would probably argue better anyway, but they're also 40 years old, so they've had 40 years of somebody smoothing down the ends of the frets with their fingers. It's by no means bad though. Actually, I need to sort my Ibanez Blazer. It was me that sorted those frets, and the frets in it are actually pretty rough. I think it's probably my fault as well. Okay, so I shall see you in... Sorry, I was going to run through some... So I'll start with the bridge. So bridge. And in the middle. Then both of them. I suppose I'll put the neck in even though I'm not changing it. Catch you soon. Hey YouTube. Oh, hold on. I'll bring this down a little bit. Might be better. Might be exactly the same. Who knows? So this is the Mexican Fender, which I am going to swap pickups on. So I'll film this anyway because I was going to do it. Gives me someone to talk to as well. It's either that or sit and watch telly. Why not? So here the full blown, drawn, long out process of taking off the scratch plate begins, and this is just, I'm using a string winder. I never used to see the point in it, but a string winder is good if you're like a tech or if you've got a 12 stringer. I actually bought the string winder because of the 12 stringer, because your hands do get sore tuning up 12 strings. So I'm just loosening these strings off until they've got, yeah, I don't know, a bit that much on them, hoping that I can do it without taking the strings completely off. Actually, I bought another string winder which I gave to my pal, which I didn't like. Sorry, Rab. I can't remember which strings it was. You got strings, Roberts strings I seem to remember, and you got a free string winder, and it wasn't as good as this one. It kind of got stuck, and I've had this one for decades. When I got my 12 stringer, it's a Jim Dunlop one. I bought it because it was purple, and I've now got my special place to keep these things. I'm getting organised. It sits on top of this amp. Yep, so that's me down to, the strings should be slack enough to get them all off. I've got a wee plastic box to put the screws in, and I'm going to use my green screwdriver. I think it looks like, is it a green screwdriver or is it the red screwdriver type? I think it might. No, it's a green screwdriver. There's two sort of sizes of Phillips head screwdriver you need for working on guitars. The green one and the other one, which is slightly bigger. I've actually got a couple of that other one. I know they're there somewhere. The blue one. The blue one, so I don't know what it is. Does it even say on it? If it wasn't so rusty, it just wouldn't say on it. No. Aye. So there's two sizes of screwdriver you want. Is it actually the right one? Is it should it be this one? You kind of get away with either one, to be honest. I wonder if I wouldn't have thought so. I'm talking to myself. I'm wondering if it's if there's an imperial size, but you get away with metric. I'd imagine the ones I've got are metric, but because it's a Fender, but it's a Mexican Fender, not a. These scratch plate screws aren't all the same size. That's what's happened. So this has got, this might have been in that before, because some of these scratch plate screws are smaller than the other ones. And yes, I could be using an electric screwdriver or a drill or something. I think I did actually at one point have an electric screwdriver, but it's not worth it when you're doing wee jobs like this. Just do it old-fashioned style. Gives you a bit more control, especially when you're working on someone else's guitar, especially quite an expensive one like this. I don't want to be, you know, sitting there with my big heavy DeWalt unscrewing these screws. You've also got the chance as well, and it does have a clutch on it, but if you're putting these screws in with a drill, that you just put it in too far and it just rips the thread out the hole. There's too much power. So this will just slide out quite easily, and then below here we go. Kind of looks like my handwriting on the inside. No, I would have written my name. It says 2010 Mim Strat Maple Neck Sunburst, written in black pen. If it was me, I would probably have written. Well, this has got CTS pots in it. They're both using the same. I'm just wondering why it's. I'm just trying to work out why this is. Could have been tightened up. They could all do have been tightened up. Actually, that's one thing you can do without any knowledge of guitars. Really, is take the scratch plate off and tighten the bolt up. Because this, if you get this to like put it to 0 and then keep going, it kind of wibbles and wobbles, and then basically eventually that will start spin. And once it does a full rotation, it spins round. The wires don't spin round, and then you end up having wires coming off and stuff. Happens all the time. It's one of those things that everyone should be able to check, but it's not like, you know, you don't need any technical knowledge to do it. I'm just turning on my soldering iron. That'll take a couple of minutes. My fantastic soldering iron. It's got a temperature gauge in the front of it, so you know when it's on. Yes, right. So it should be pretty straightforward, really. So I'm not replacing the middle pickup. Now, looking at these don't have a magnet on the back. So I think what that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that means these are alnico. So the actual pole pieces are magnets, as opposed to these ones, which are, it's like the pole pieces are metal, are just steel, but the magnets stuck to it, magnetize them. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, when I built that one, I wanted pickups that all had they didn't have magnets on them, just because. Well, oh. That's great, thank you. This could be a combined what's in the box. If this is, I just unsubscribed to Amazon Prime today, which I'll probably regret. I'm pretty sure this came from Amazon Prime, and it is a Canish Music 2-point trem system, which is going in an Epiphone Explorer I've got. So it's maybe tempted to rejoin Amazon Prime. Actually, I did watch all of Lost. Sorry, that was just a bit of live action there. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out these two pickups, or is that the best way of doing it? Well, that needs to come off anyway. I need to take the earth wires off, or do I? Is it better just to snip them? I'm just going to snip them. Might sound quite naughty, but that's the way. There's also a danger here that they're going to be the wrong way around. Hold on, I'll turn the volume on that down as well. Turn it on. Volume down. Amazon, your parcel has just been delivered. Pretty prompt. I did order that at like, I don't know if it was past midnight last night, but it was round about that time. I thought, shit, I forgot to, I said I was going to order that and I forgot, but I've done it now. Yeah, so I'm going to take these pickups out first, put the other ones in, just so I can just literally just swap the wires over without actually having to think about it. It's got one of those, the two-sided Oak Grigsby type switches in it. So these two pickups are coming out, and they are normally the below screwdriver. So it's the necks staying, but the bridge and the middle are coming out. Now I hope that these screws are going to fit into the replacement pickups. There's generally quite a few different sizes of the screws that go in, so the other pickups didn't come with these screws, so I'm just hoping they're fitting. Otherwise I'm going to pause this video and then spend 10 minutes looking through my big massive box of all the screws that I refuse to throw out to try and find ones that do fit. But nice if they just fitted though. I could probably do the nice thing actually. What I'll probably do is I'll probably write a Sharpie middle and bridge on these, just for future reference, so when I find them in 6 months time, assuming I don't put them in my strat, I know what they are. So that, I'm looking for the bridge one. So for these, well, let's take them off the volume control first. Watch me burn my fingers doing this. If these are original solders, I think sometimes you use a special kind of solder. just noticed something there. This has got a big, has got extra routing on it. I wonder why that is. I wonder what this has had in it. It looks like it might be a battery box actually. So maybe this was at one point active. It would kind of explain why it's got stuff written on the back of it. If it's like, you know, implying it's been out of the guitar, that would be why you would write Mexican 2010 Strat on it. And is that somebody very helpfully put M on that one and A on that one, to put A on that one, right? So that's the bridge one, because it's repellent off the middle pickup, whereas this one will stick to it, because that's the middle one, right? So this is the bridge. I'm just going to disconnect them. Nah, let's see if the screws fit. Wouldn't that be nice? So this is the bridge, isn't it? Because it doesn't fit. Yeah, that's me testing the magnetic polarity. In there, and that goes in there. And are we going to get away with it? Are we going to get away with it? They look like they're the right size of screws. That'd be nice. Yep, I'm accepting that. Good. That counts as a little win there. It's also, notice that these aren't on springs. They're on wee rubber bits of tubing, which I think is a vintage correct thing. One of those things where I suppose you could probably argue that it might dampen them a bit. I don't know. I think to be honest, what it was when they were originally building the Fenders, I thought, oh, that's the cheapest way of doing it. We'll just do it that way, which happens quite a lot. A lot with these guitars. You know, it's like why are they made of ash? Oh, because ash is the best tone woods, and it's like they were originally pine, or the Telecasters were, and they were having to import the pine from Canada to get to California, and it's like, all right, what kind of wood grows here? Swamp ash, right? We'll make them out of swamp ash, and then suddenly now it's like, oh, swamp ash, oh, you want swamp ash? It's like, whereas at the time it was because it was cheaper than pine to import to California or whatever it was about making these things in the 50s. So by just taking these two out, I've just eliminated really any problems with miswiring, because I can just literally take the wire off the middle pickup and put it onto where it came from. Pretty easy stuff. I'm not going to bother. I said in the first part of the video, I think there was pots in the gig bag, but these pots are the same as the ones that are in it, so there's no point. Well, I've only got one. I've got a volume pot with it, but it's a CTS one as well, and there's a CTS one already in it. And although I didn't specifically check to make sure the volume control was working okay, it was working okay, because I would have noticed if it wasn't. So I'm not going to bother putting on the new pot. It's used anyway, but because it's just the same as the one that was already there. So now we've got it upside down, and we've got our two pickups. Interestingly, the white from the existing pickups is the hot. The existing pickups are let's get yellow. They've got black and yellow for the middle pickup, because that's the opposite wine one, and black and white for all the others. And these have got black as the common, as the earth. Whereas actually I'm looking at this. Actually, this one has whatever these ones are from. Have got both the pickups have got white. One's yellow and one's red. So I'm thinking that the white is the earth on this one. So it's the other way around. And am I going to be able to? It's probably not really worthwhile trying to unsolder this. I should probably just be snipping it. I'm just going to snip them. So I didn't get my trusty guitar specific thing. So that's that pickup. That's just the earth to it. I'll just snip that off there. Alright, so that's the. And what I didn't do was actually write on them which one was which. So. That's repellent. So that's the middle one. So I'm just going to write middle on that with a pen, so I know where I am. There's not really a good bit to write it on. Draw it in the pole piece. And if I'd started writing it with the 6 letters in middle, I could have written M-I-D-D-L-E. Instead, I missed out, wrote in the second one in, so it now says M-I-D-D-L on the pole pieces. That's fine. And the bridge, I'll just put B, R, E, D. Did exactly the same thing again. Yep. Rocking. At least I know what they are now, though. So that being the middle, I'll take the hot. No, I think these are backwards, so these are getting split up. They've both got a white and they've both got a different coloured one, but I am just going to take a random guess and say that the white, because they've both got it, should be earth, even though when this was wired in its previous guitar it had the 2 colours as the earth. What might have happened there is there might have been a humbucker. No, there can't have been. It doesn't matter whether they're, as long as they're all backwards or they're all forwards, it's the same thing with single coil pickups. They're only at a phase if one of them's backwards and one of them isn't. So it's like if they're both backwards, that's fine. So I'll take the red as the positive, and it's going to go where that's coming from. So I'm just going to take that out the way there, and that's going on there, nice and easy. Where's my special guitar specific tweezers? There we go. So that's the middle going to there. So, or the bridge. I just wrote middle on that. What's going on? Yeah, so these pickups don't have the middle. The ones that are in it are not. It wasn't hum cancelling position 2 and 4. I've now realised, because they're all sticking together. This new middle pickup is reverse wound. So I've just written neck on the neck one and bridge on the. I wrote them the wrong way round. Sorry, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's only me. You can also sometimes tell if you measure the gaps between the pole pieces, or the centres of the pole pieces. Oh, and don't you just love it? What they do with they made this so they're not easy to work on. So what they've done is, before somebody soldered it, somebody went in and wrapped, like basically wired the guitar by wrapping the wire around and twisting it, and then soldering it. So if you ever want to try and unsolder it, you've got to wrap the wire. You've got to try and unwrap the wire. So basically, you don't try and unwrap the wire; you just cut it off, give up immediately. It's the same with the pots. I think that's a Mexican standard thing. I've seen it quite a lot of times in Mexican ones. I'm just going to put that on where that one came off. Nice and easy. All good. I'll take out this one. Be the middle one. And same again, it's been wrapped round it before it was soldered, so rather than faffing about with a solder sucker and all that stuff, which you can do, just snip it off. That's it out the circuit, and I'll just snip off the other black wire as well. So that's that out of the equation. And now we've got to put the middle pickup onto the middle. Again, putting some solder on the wire before I put the solder onto, before I try and join the two bits together. Ba-ding. And because I'm mixing two types of pickup together here, as I was saying with the reverse thing, it's possible that in position 4, which is the neck and middle on together, it's going to be out of phase, in which case I have to take all the strings off, all the scratch plate off, and put it back on again backwards to what it is. I'm just going, my common sense thinking here is saying that the original pickups all had a white wire and a coloured wire, and the new pickups I'm putting in No, the original pickups all had a black and a white wire. Or a black wire and a coloured wire, where it was white for the outside too, or yellow for the middle. And these ones are all have a white wire, so I'm thinking that that's common. So it's an educated guess. While I'm in here, I am going to take off these knobs and tighten up these posts, and I will use my guitar specific toenail clippers as well. You can get things called knob pullers, but if you just kind of, it's got a slight wee kink in it there, which is like just a wee crowbar, and you can just, if you put it in below, you can get it in below and just rotate the thing around, it will gradually pull it off and there'll be no problem. And I'll just use my, so there was an argument the other day on Facebook, what do you call that? And it was like, the consensus was it's called a shifter, and it's like, nope, to me it's called an adjustable spanner, but it just doesn't matter. Shifter's good enough. So I'm just doing that, just tightening it up, putting it up to full whack, and putting it back on so the 10 is pointing at the person playing it. And I'll probably just do the same with the other ones because they were all a bit, just test them out. But these are good this is good preventative stuff. You can get this. The hard bit, of course, being getting the toe knob, getting the knobs off without damaging anything. So these are just slightly too low for me to get my super lever in below. Oh, I've got it in below. And if I just gradually just turn it round and just work it off. And then my shifter. Put that on. Tighten it up. Volume max. Up to. I know this, people don't really notice this, but I do. But if you're going to do it right. Make it so that when you look at it and it's at 10, it says 10 on it. Right, I couldn't quite get this in below this knob to get this one out. Just this one actually moving. Tempted to say it's not really moving that much, but I reckon I could probably get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a flat screwdriver just to do the same thing, just to get it started. Just gently squeezing it round, and if I keep rotating it round, it means you're pulling it either side off. Quick screw. It might be nice to get a wee bit on it. One of these things you just do when you're in there as well. Also fixed the output jack on this. It was a bit, which I should have showed you how to do, but haven't done. Yeah, so that's the bit there I was talking about. This bit here, I wonder if this maybe at one point had like EMGs in it or something like that. Is that connected? Yes. Yep. So it looks like someone's maybe cut out a battery box and below the scratch plate for EMGs or some sort of, just I'd imagine probably on a different scratch plate. So that would be why they're taking this scratch plate out. What I'm going to do here is I'm not going to put all the screws in because I'm not sure whether the guitar's working in or out of phase. So I'm going to put a couple in just to stop the scratch plate falling off, and then I'll tune up a string so I can tell what, and then if I go into position 4, the way you would tell whether it was in phase or out of phase is it doesn't get really thin and quiet when you put both pickups on at the same time. I'll put three screws in, just enough to hold it on just now, and then I'll tune up one string, stick it into the amp, and then I will know whether it's done or not. 25 minutes, yeah, okay. I suppose it's not that long, is it? What string are we going to go for? Just go for the A. Why not? A on, string winder on. Try and do it so it's like all the other strings are so loose they're hitting off it. Right, that doesn't matter. No, when I say tune it up, I'm really just going to make it so it works. Yep, so to pull all the other strings off from it so that they're not actually touching it when I do this. Yep, so neck pickup. That's not out of phase. You can tell you've got the quiet one, the quieter pickup. Probably quieter because I've not quite raised it up yet, but when you go into position 4 it doesn't get much quieter and thinner. So we're the right way round, so I can now put this guitar back together again. I don't know if there's really much point in showing you this, but I suppose I'm going to do it anyway, so I'll just edit it out. I probably won't edit it out, I'll just end up talking all the way through it as usual. We planned for doing the speedy up camera thing, which I've not actually got to. The problem is I never actually shut up talking. Yes. I'm just putting these on to not using the tuner as yet. Although might as well be, I suppose. I'm just making them all a little bit taut. The head banging is optional when you're tuning up, when you're using a string winder. Actually, my pal Dava's got he's got like a wee electric, like a guitar roadie tool or whatever it's called. And he was actually talking to me in a video call at one point. He was talking about his tuners or something like that, and he was using it. I was like, I can't find the tuners. It's a guitar he's had for a while, and so he had to just put the string on without it. And immediately after, I was like, oh, these tuners are really nice. And it's like, because you can feel the tuners when you use your fingers, but if you're probably notice a little bit if you're using a plastic one, but if you're using like an electric string winder, you don't get the joy of having the expensive tuners you bought that are really smooth, because if you're using an electric thing to move them anyway. And why is the tuner not doing anything? What's going on? Why is there no sound? Oh, the joys of building guitars. Is this on? It was working a minute ago. It's on. So now only the neck pickup's working and the middle two are not. Oh yeah. I think what's happened here is the original pickups are much hotter than the one, because I've had to leave the neck pickup in. It's much hotter, so I'm going to lower it down a little bit to make it compete a bit better. And see if the tuner's actually going to work now. B, change it too high. When I just stick things up to the tuner, I do occasionally get these a bit high, but never. Hopefully, just as long as you don't do that with the thin strings. Because if you put the thin strings up 2 notes too high, they just snap. Whereas if you put the fat strings up a couple of notes, that's why you can just turn it back down again. They can take the pain. And I wouldn't expect these to stay in tune immediately because the strings have been off, so they'll need to stretch back and stuff like that. So that should be bridge. There's a huge jump in. There's a huge jump in volume when you go to that neck pickup, isn't there? I'm now sitting here going, I'm wondering, is that out of phase? I don't think it is. I'm trying to doubt myself a little bit here, of whether that's actually. See, that's kind of got that sort of, if you listen to the middle pickup on its own, and then both of them, it's out of phase, isn't it? Right, so, at a 50-50 chance, I thought I was being smart, and it turns out I wasn't. What's going to happen here is, I am going to take the strings off again, swap the wires over for that pickup, put it back on, and then it's going to be really, 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 really thin sounding. So definitely out of phase, so I'll have to put it back again. So I probably was right, but I'm going to redo it anyway, just because I'm not concentrating fully having the video on. It sounds an awful lot harder doing it with the video. It also just seems to take longer, but I think that's normally because I've normally just have been watching telly or listen to records. You know, listen to Black Sabbath Born Again, which is what I was going to listen to, but then I thought, ah, sod it, I might as well video it as well. Ah well, it should be entertaining, and at least from this point of view you can see that you can, once I've done this and then I realise that I was right the first time and I've just done it the whole thing, instead of wiring the guitar once I've wired it 3 times, you can then sit there and go and feel quite smug in yourself and go, oh, I'm glad it wasn't me. This doesn't happen if you're using all pickups from the same set, I wouldn't have thought. Just when you're doing the sort of, it's like the cowboy way of replacing a couple of them and leaving one in. So I'm just going to swap the wires that go to this pickup, because these 2 pickups are now technically backwards to that one, but that one's just going to get swapped round. It's also, I think it's a much more powerful pickup, which is making it seem more. I'm now just going to, I mean, I kind of know that it's going to be out of phase now, and it wasn't before. Just by sod's law, really, isn't it? And I will need to do the, where's my Stanley blade? I'd like to sit up there with my super system of keeping things in the stereo. Right, I'm just going to put new ends on this. There is no standard for which way's forward and which way's backwards. I do know that normally if you've got like a square strat or something like that and you decide to put a humbucker in the bridge, quite often the humbucker is backwards. So I've had quite a lot of guitars where people are like, yeah, it sounds great in the bridge position, sounds great in all the other positions, but in position 2 it sounds thin and horrible. That's because it's out of phase. So you need to, and it's often much easier to swap round the two wires on a single coil than it is on a humbucker, because often the humbucker has a metal cover or a metal plate which is earthed, and if you look at the back of this, it's the humbucker cover would be screwed into that tin foil there, so that would be earthing it out, which means it would just cancel out immediately, just basically be off. I've had to do that. I've had that problem before where I've actually seen myself actually sitting cutting off the silver foil so it doesn't cancel out the pickup. You get that problem with phasing as well when you try to put a phase switch in. As soon as you reverse a humbucker for making the phase switch thing, it makes the earth live and the live earth. But if your earth's connected to a metal cover, as soon as you touch the pickup with your fingers, it buzzes like that. So you need to actually separate out the wire. Oh! Just noticed something there. There's a wire hanging off. What's that? Oh, it never wanted to join onto the You pick up. Always be observant. Put more. This one. It's always going to happen with strats, especially when you're trying to poke the wires so they fit into where the cavities are. It's quite easy just to knock them off if you've not quite got a good. One of the ways it's much nicer working on an SG or something like that, because you can have the guitar strung up and then, or a Telecaster, and you string it up and then you go, oh, put one of the pickups on backwards, it's running out of phase or there's something wrong. You just flip the guitar over, take the back off and fidget with it, and you can just leave the guitar in tune, whereas on a Strat you have to take the strings off and then put them all back on again, and then put the scratch plate on just to get at them. Which is not too bad when it's hardtailed like this one is, but when it's a floating, if you've got a Floyd Rose or something, it just becomes really mega annoying. Why people don't like working with Floyd Roses. Everybody doesn't like working with Floyd Roses, I think. I've managed to talk like the guy, that bridge there is coming out. I will do a video on that. It's an Epiphone Explorer from the 80s. Quite a nice looking guitar actually, but at some point it's had, well, originally it's had one of those Bendmaster trims on it, which look very much like what's on a Westtone, apart from the Westtone one is made of steel, so it works, and any Westtone one I've ever seen has always worked perfectly, even though they're 30 years old. Whereas any one of these Bendmaster, the copies I've seen that came from Korea later on, every single one of them, the block has turned to Weetabix and it's just gone crumbly, and they're a really annoying thing to fix. So I'm hoping that without really much modification I'm going to be able to get this Strat type one, or the 2-point Strat type one to fit, which would be nice. That'd probably be quite a useful thing for most people. These I'll show you the Bendmaster thing in the next video. I think it's now in phase. I hope. It's hard to tell. It's so much easier to tell when you've got a guitar with all the strings on. What I'd done there was I'd just kind of tuned one string up to something, and then you're sitting there and I was kind of holding the other strings that are all hitting off. It's not ideal. So really, assuming this is just going to work. Stupid colour codes. So assuming this is just going to work, I'll just put more strings on it, and then I will switch back to camera A and do a wee demo of it. Going by the sound difference between the new pickups and the ones I've just taken out, I think the new ones are much more vintagey, lower output, which is more stratty. Right, then if we turn it on, I'm going to get a pick though. Actually. Hey, and I'm back. So now we have new pickups in this, what I reckon were a Nico or something like that, the ones that don't have magnets on them, for the middle and the bridge, and the neck's the same. I have lowered the neck a little bit because it was a little bit louder, but it definitely sounds more stratty than it did before. That's the bridge pickup. Position 2. Middle. 4. Neck. So actually, I think that was position 2, if I remember correctly. My rhythm tracks to the sync with the drums, eh? I mean, to be totally honest, yes, it was a worthy upgrade. It's a shame that neck pickup wasn't working. But yes, I think it sounds better. Much brighter, much more vintage. Probably less good if you're using tons of gain, which I'm not really. But that neck pickup's really, the bridge pickup's really nice now. Couldn't really get more stratty sounding than that, could you? I think, okay, I think the word is ceramic I'm looking for, like the ceramic pickups that were in it before, quite high output, are kind of more for your average guitar player who wants just a nice all-round guitar. Doesn't necessarily want like, oh, it's just a Strat, you know, it's maybe a bit more usable for other things. You know, if you have to, if you're doing a Sabbath song in your set or something like that, maybe you want slightly higher output, but you know, to get, if you're going to be using tons of gain. But I think if you're wanting like a Strat sound, a quacky Strat, and I'm sure Ian, if you could say what kind of pickups these were, in the comments I will put them up into the I might even actually contact you just now and see if you'll tell me, so that I can actually put them in the title. But no, nice. And depending on how quickly I pick this up, I might do a wee comparison video, even though I've said before it's not a very good comparison for the Japanese and the Mexican, just because they're a different spec. But it's a nice Strat. It really is. Then again, I am of course judging this on not knowing how much it costs. One of these costs. In my head, there's something that says a Mexican Strat's like 250, 300 quid second hand. I think they're an awful lot more than that. But I mean, there's quite a gulf in difference between any Squier and this. Well, any Squier apart from the very, very first ones, because the very, very first ones, I've got a Squier Bullet, which is basically Fender Japan, but they hadn't decided to make the Squier the cheaper one yet. So maybe some of the Japanese Squier ones are kind of this level, but all the ones from later on are not, they're not this level of guitar. It's a significantly better guitar, this one. But I don't see any problem with gigginess in this being, it is, I mean, I think when I got I was always thinking I should really get myself a real Strat, and I've already got a real SG, so real as in American. But apart, like my pal Scott, so he's got a few American Strats and stuff like that. He reckons really the only difference is the time spent on the fretwork and stuff like that. More time spent on the American ones, so it'll have slightly nicer frets. That's kind of it. There's other wee things, like I think if you look at the inlay round about where the truss rod goes, it's wooden on American ones, and on Mexican ones it's plastic. So I mean, it's a way of telling between the difference. Obviously that makes no difference to the guitar in any way, whether like a wee insert bit round about the truss rods, wood or plastic, has zero tone. I don't think anyone could argue that it makes any difference to the sound of the guitar, but it does. It must be more expensive to put the wood in. So you can look at it, if they're willing to spend extra money on putting a piece of wood in there, they've probably spent more time on everything else. And I don't know, I mean, there's so many stories about where the Mexican guitars come from. Do they all get made? I think I was under the impression that they all get the necks and the bodies are all made in America anyway, and then some of them are sent to Mexico to be finished, and some of them are kept in America to be finished. But who knows? I think the two factories are only a couple hundred miles apart. I think it would be like along the lines of maybe the ones with the nicer. Somebody's got like just a box of necks, like a conveyor belt of necks, and they look at them and go, "This is a particularly nice grain on this neck. Stays in America. This one's a bit plain. Goes to Mexico." I think there's a bit of that. I know they did. That's what people I was told happened with my Gibson SG. I've got the SG Special, which is like Ferrari red. You know, it's like the red poly coating on it. And I was told that all the Gibson SGs at the time were just that, there you go, here's a Gibson SG, like before it was finished, and it was just like a body and a neck. And the ones that had a grain that wasn't particularly nice got put in this box and then painted solid colours and became a special, and the ones that had a nice grain were put in that box and then were made into standards because they get a translucent finish. So I think there's probably elements of that, because although you can grade a piece of wood, you know, say you've got a neck blank, like just like a block of 4x2 or whatever it is you make it out of, you can look at it and go, yeah, it's probably quite a nice piece, but you don't actually know what's inside. You know, once you've carved it into a neck shape, there might be less good bits in it. You see that a lot with Chinese guitars. I think there's a lot of like rejects from the big expensive guitar factories where there's really, it's still the same piece of wood, it's just it's got like an ugly knot in it, or maybe not a knot, but you know, like a dark patch in naturally in the tree, where one year a rhino sharpened its horn on it or something like that, and it kind of went dark, and then it grew round it and stuff like that. So you've got like a kind of bit that's just a kind of bit. There's no difference to it. It just looks a bit off. So I think those get punted onto their Squires, or they just get sold in the open market as, you know, incomplete necks, because you can tell that before you've finally, you know, you just rough shape it, and then I think that's how it works anyway. Anyhow, so this was quite a long video. So that's how I swap pickups in this Strat, and these pickups I think are better. I don't think it really suffers too much from the neck pickup being different. I wouldn't bother I think the neck pickup works better anyway. I think maybe if you're going to, I'm saying that the neck pickup in my Japanese one sounds better than the other two, but I think it's just because of the nature of, you know, the physics of having a pickup here. It just sounds better than these two anyway, regardless. So you could get away with a lower output and less good pickup in the neck, and it'll match these two. It's the bridge pickup's the one that's a toughie, because if you get like a lot of the Bucky casters and stuff, when you're on the bridge pickup on its own, it's really, really thin and shrill sounding. That's why I always put extra pickups in and switches and stuff. Whereas on a real Strat, it is thin and shrill sounding, but there's enough meat in it to still make it a nice tone. So rock on, catch you later. I'll probably do a video, maybe, was it Thursday? It's Wednesday, isn't it? Maybe Thursday night's video will be comparing the two guitars with each other. I'll maybe just do that. Maybe do that this afternoon and just keep it as a banker for one day when I can't bother doing a video or something like that. It's going to be a bit of a sort of clickbaity one, you know, putting a Mexican up against a Japanese Strat, but as I said, I don't think it's really a fair comparison. It's just the same as I get when I do all these guitars. It's like when, you know, just the fret ends and stuff like that, they're 40 years old, so it's like you can't really compare one that's 5 years old to one that's 40 years old, because apparently, you know, wood gets crystallised, so the wood's actually better. But even just down to if it's been played a lot, you get that, you know, slightly rolled edges on the fingerboard just from people's fingers, and you know, eventually the fret ends get a little bit rounder just from wear, you know, of people's hands. Rock on! No, I pressed the button again. Anyway, see you on Sunday for another live stream. I'm going to try and get a bottle of Eldorado because I'm going to make an Eldorado bass. So get yourself ready for drinking, Sunday drinking. Become the highlight of my week. Oh God.